The rejection lands with devastating finality. The avoidant person has ended things, created distance, or made clear through their actions that a romantic relationship isn't what they want with you. The message is painful and unambiguous. You're not chosen, not wanted in the way you hoped, not enough to make them overcome whatever internal barriers prevent their commitment. This rejection triggers every insecurity, every fear of unworthiness, every wound from past experiences of not being selected or valued. The natural response is to retreat, to nurse your wounds, to try desperately to understand what you did wrong or what's wrong with you that made you unworthy of their love. But beneath the surface of this rejection, beneath the apparent finality of their choice, lies a complex web of unspoken expectations the avoidant person holds about how you'll respond. They're not just rejecting you and walking away cleanly. They're rejecting you while secretly hoping you'll respond in specific ways that serve their psychological needs and maintain their control over the dynamic. Understanding what the avoidant person hopes you'll do after rejecting you reveals the manipulation embedded in their behavior and provides the clarity you need to avoid falling into traps that keep you stuck in their orbit while preventing your healing. The avoidant person's rejection is rarely as clean or final as it appears. It's usually strategic positioning that maintains their options while protecting their comfort, keeps you accessible while preventing the vulnerability genuine commitment would require, and allows them to feel powerful and desired while avoiding the actual work of a relationship. Recognizing what they hope you'll do after rejection is the key to doing the opposite, to reclaiming your power and protecting yourself from further manipulation disguised as connection. They hope you'll stay available while they explore other options. The first and perhaps most insidious hope the avoidant person holds is that you'll remain emotionally and practically available to them, even after they've rejected you. This availability serves a crucial function in their psychological economy. It provides insurance against the possibility that their rejection was a mistake, while requiring nothing from them in terms of commitment or consistency. The avoidant person wants to know that if their exploration of other options doesn't work out, if they discover that other people are no better, or if they eventually become ready for a relationship, you'll still be there, waiting, ready to pick up where things left off. This hope manifests in specific behaviors and communications from the avoidant person after rejection. They maintain some level of contact that keeps a connection alive without offering genuine relationship. They text occasionally with updates about their life or questions about yours. They like your posts on social media, signaling that they're still paying attention even though they're not committing. They suggest getting together as friends or staying in touch, framing continued contact as a mature way of handling the ending. All of these behaviors serve a single purpose: keeping you in their orbit while they explore whether something better exists elsewhere. The avoidant person's need for you to remain available stems from a deep insecurity they typically don't acknowledge or express. Despite their outward appearance of confidence and independence, despite their ability to walk away from relationships seemingly without difficulty, the avoidant person is actually profoundly insecure about their lovability and about whether they'll find a relationship that meets their contradictory needs. They want intimacy without vulnerability, connection without dependence, partnership without the discomfort that genuine relating requires. These desires are impossible to fulfill, but the avoidant person keeps searching for the person or situation that will somehow provide them. Your continued availability while they conduct this search serves several functions. First, it protects them from having to fully commit to their decision to reject you. They can tell themselves and others that they ended things, but maintaining contact means they haven't fully closed the door. This ambiguity allows them to reverse course if they change their mind without having to overcome the barrier of complete disconnection and the vulnerability of admitting they made a mistake. The door remains cracked open, requiring minimal effort to push it fully open again when and if they choose to. Second, your availability provides validation that they're desirable and important, even when they're not offering anything substantive. The fact that you remain accessible, that you respond to their occasional contact, that you maintain some connection despite their rejection, confirms for them that they have impact and power. This validation feeds their ego and soothes their insecurity, without requiring them to do any of the work of an actual relationship. They get the benefits of mattering to you without the cost of showing up for you. Third, your continued availability allows the avoidant person to avoid feeling the full consequences of their rejection. If you remain accessible, if you're still in their life in some capacity, they don't have to sit with the loss of you. They can maintain the fiction that they haven't really lost anything, that the relationship just changed form rather than ending. This fiction protects them from grief and regret that might otherwise motivate self-examination and growth. Why examine their patterns if those patterns didn't result in actual loss? The avoidant person's hope that you'll stay available is particularly manipulative because it asks you to sacrifice your healing and forward movement for their comfort and ego. While you remain emotionally invested, checking your phone for their messages, interpreting their minimal contact as signs of continued interest, organizing part of your emotional life around the possibility of reconnection, they're free to live their life without constraint. They can date other people without guilt because you're not together. They can explore other options without losing you as a fallback. They can take as much time as they want to figure things out while you wait in limbo. This waiting while they explore prevents you from moving forward genuinely. You might date other people, but you're not fully emotionally available because part of you is still invested in the avoidant person. You might tell yourself you're moving on, but you're constantly measuring new people against the avoidant person, hoping to find someone who has their attractive qualities without their unavailability. You might claim you're over them, but you're still responding to their texts, still hoping their occasional contact means something, still available if they decided they want to try again. The avoidant person knows, consciously or unconsciously, that if you fully disconnect and genuinely move on, they lose the option of returning to you. Your complete absence would mean that if they wanted to reconnect, they would have to overcome significant barriers. Reaching out after extended silence, admitting they made a mistake, proving they've changed, risking genuine rejection from you. These barriers feel insurmountable to the avoidant person, so they work to prevent them from forming by keeping you minimally engaged. The specific ways the avoidant person tries to keep you available vary, but they follow predictable patterns. They reach out during times when they're feeling lonely or uncertain, using you for emotional support without offering reciprocal support or commitment. They share vulnerable moments or struggles with you, creating intimacy that feels significant but doesn't translate into consistent connection or relationship. They make vague references to possibly trying again in the future, to timing being wrong now, but maybe being right later, to needing to work on themselves before they can be in a relationship. All of these communications are designed to keep hope alive in you, to maintain your investment, to ensure you remain accessible. What makes this hope particularly insidious is that the avoidant person often frames it as respect for you and your autonomy. They say things like, "I want you to live your life," or "I'm not asking you to wait for me," while their actions communicate exactly the opposite. They maintain contact that keeps you emotionally engaged. They provide just enough attention to keep hope alive. They create ambiguity about the finality of the rejection that prevents you from achieving closure. And when you call out this contradiction, when you point out that their behavior doesn't match their words, they claim you're misinterpreting their intentions, that they just want to stay friends, that you're reading too much into their casual contact. This gaslighting allows the avoidant person to have it both ways. They get to keep you available while claiming they're not manipulating you into staying available. They get to maintain their option to reconnect while claiming they've released you to move on. The cognitive dissonance this creates in you is deliberate, even if unconscious on their part. Your confusion keeps you engaged, trying to figure out what they really want, interpreting their mixed signals, hoping that their continued contact means something more than it does. The truth is that the avoidant person's hope for your continued availability is entirely self-serving. It has nothing to do with caring about you or wanting what's best for you. If they cared about your well-being, they would recognize that a clean break and complete disconnection would be most helpful for your healing. They would remove themselves from your life entirely and stay removed, allowing you the space to process the loss and move forward genuinely. But they don't do this because your healing is not their priority. Their comfort and their options are their priorities, and both are served by you remaining available. They hope you'll accept friendship so they can keep you as backup. The friendship offer is one of the most common strategies the avoidant person employs after rejection, and it serves as a perfect vehicle for maintaining access to you while preventing the vulnerability and commitment that a romantic relationship would require. When the avoidant person suggests staying friends, they're not offering genuine friendship based on mutual care and reciprocal investment. They're proposing an arrangement that allows them to keep you in their life as a backup option, as an ego boost, as a source of attention and validation that they can access when convenient without having to meet any of the obligations that romantic partnership entails. The avoidant person's hope that you'll accept friendship is rooted in their desire to avoid complete loss, while also avoiding genuine commitment. Friendship provides a perfect middle ground where they maintain connection without responsibility. They can still text you, still see you occasionally, still benefit from your presence and care, but without having to show up consistently, be emotionally vulnerable, or prioritize your needs in the ways romantic partnership requires. Friendship gives them access to you at their comfort level, on their terms, without the pressure they experienced in the romantic relationship. This friendship offer also serves a defensive function for the avoidant person's ego and self-image. By proposing friendship, they can tell themselves and others that they're being kind and mature about the ending, that they value you enough to want to maintain connection even if romance didn't work out. This narrative protects them from seeing themselves as someone who uses people and discards them, someone whose patterns hurt others, someone who is running from intimacy. The friendship offer allows them to believe they're being considerate and thoughtful when they're actually being selfish and manipulative. What the avoidant person hopes you don't recognize is that friendship with someone you have romantic feelings for is not actually friendship. It's continued romantic investment without reciprocation, continued hope without commitment, continued emotional labor without reward. True friendship is a relationship complete in itself, where both people's needs are being met through the friendship, and neither person is secretly hoping for more. But friendship with the avoidant person after romantic rejection is a fundamentally imbalanced dynamic where you're managing your romantic feelings while pretending to be satisfied with friendship, and they're benefiting from your continued presence while feeling none of the pressure that romance entailed. The avoidant person knows at some level that accepting their friendship offer means you're not really over them. If you had genuinely moved on, if you had processed the rejection and released your romantic feelings, you would likely have no interest in maintaining friendship with them. The fact that you accept friendship signals to them that you're still emotionally invested, still hoping that friendship might evolve back into romance, still available to them in ways that serve their needs. This knowledge gives them power and control that they wouldn't have if you cut contact completely. The friendship that develops after you accept their offer typically follows a predictable pattern that serves the avoidant person while preventing your healing. You make most of the effort to maintain contact because you're the one who's still invested. You're available when they reach out, but they're often unavailable when you need them. You provide emotional support when they're struggling, but they're not present for your difficulties. You organize your schedule to accommodate seeing them, but they cancel or reschedule when something better comes along. The imbalance that characterized the romantic relationship continues in the friendship, just with less justification for you to complain about it, because we're just friends. This friendship arrangement also allows the avoidant person to keep you as a backup option if and when they decide they want a romantic relationship again. They can monitor your life through the friendship, observing whether you're dating anyone, whether you seem to be moving on, whether you're still emotionally available to them. If they see you beginning to genuinely move forward, if they sense you developing real interest in someone else, they can activate pursuit behaviors that draw you back in. They can suggest trying the romantic relationship again, having realized what they had with you, having done some growing, being ready now for what they couldn't handle before. But this renewed romantic interest, if it comes, is almost always triggered by fear of losing you, rather than by genuine development of capacity for relationship. The avoidant person hasn't done the work to change their patterns. They're simply responding to the threat of loss by temporarily pursuing. And once that threat is neutralized by your renewed investment, they'll return to their usual patterns of withdrawal and emotional unavailability. The friendship arrangement makes this cycle possible by keeping you accessible and invested, preventing a clean break that would protect you from being drawn back into dynamics that don't serve you. The avoidant person's hope that you'll accept friendship also reveals their fundamental lack of respect for your needs and boundaries. They're asking you to accept a relationship structure that serves them while disregarding how it affects you. They're expecting you to manage your romantic feelings and accept a lesser form of connection because it's more comfortable for them. They're prioritizing their desire to keep you in their life over your need to heal and move forward. This self-centeredness is consistent with avoidant patterns, but accepting their friendship offer enables it rather than challenging it. What you need to understand is that accepting friendship with the avoidant person after romantic rejection is choosing to remain in a dynamic that will prevent your healing and keep you unavailable for genuine partnership with someone else. Every hour you spend with them as a friend is an hour you're not spending fully moving on. Every text conversation you have with them is a conversation that keeps you emotionally engaged with someone who rejected you. Every time you see them and manage your romantic feelings while pretending to be satisfied with friendship, you're reinforcing patterns that keep you stuck. The avoidant person hopes you'll accept friendship because it's the arrangement that serves them best. But what serves them least, what actually protects you and gives you the best chance of healing and moving forward, is complete disconnection. No contact, no friendship, no staying in touch to see how they're doing. A clean break that allows you to fully feel the loss, process the grief, and eventually open yourself to new possibilities without the avoidant person's presence preventing genuine forward movement. This is what they hope you won't do, which is exactly why it's what you should do. They hope you'll wait without pressure while they figure things out. One of the most common narratives the avoidant person offers after rejection is that they need time to figure themselves out, to work on their issues, to get to a better place before they can be in a relationship. This framing makes their rejection seem like mature self-awareness rather than avoidance and dysfunction. It suggests that the problem isn't compatibility or lack of feelings, but rather their own internal state that needs improvement before they can show up as a partner. And embedded in this narrative is an implicit hope that you'll wait while they do this supposed internal work, remaining available for when they've completed their self-improvement journey. This hope that you'll wait is rarely stated explicitly, because an explicit request would require the avoidant person to acknowledge that they want to keep you as an option, that they're asking you to put your life on hold for an indefinite period while they maybe, possibly, work on becoming capable of relationship. Instead, the hope remains unspoken but communicated through various indirect means. The avoidant person maintains contact that keeps you updated on their life and their supposed progress. They make vague references to future possibilities once they're in a better place. They express regret about timing, suggesting that things might have worked if circumstances were different. All of these communications serve to keep you hoping and waiting, without them having to take responsibility for asking you to do so. The avoidant person's claim that they need to figure themselves out is rarely as genuine as it sounds. Most avoidant people who use this explanation are not actually engaged in intensive self-examination or therapeutic work to address their patterns. They're continuing their lives much as before, perhaps with some superficial gestures towards self-improvement, but without the sustained, uncomfortable work that genuine growth requires. The figuring themselves out is more about buying time and maintaining options than about actual transformation. What the avoidant person is really figuring out is whether they can find someone who meets their contradictory needs for intimacy without vulnerability. Someone who will accept their minimal investment. Someone who triggers less anxiety than you did. They're exploring whether the problem was you specifically or whether they'll experience the same discomfort with anyone who wants genuine partnership. They're testing whether their patterns are as limiting as they fear or whether they can find a relationship that allows them to remain defended and comfortable. This exploration takes time, and they hope you'll wait while they conduct it. The hope that you'll wait serves several functions for the avoidant person. First, it provides a safety net for their exploration. They can pursue other relationships or experiences knowing that if those don't work out, you're still available as a fallback. This safety net removes the stakes from their exploration and prevents them from having to fully commit to their rejection of you. They can tell themselves they're single and figuring themselves out while maintaining you as an insurance policy against the possibility that single life or new relationships don't satisfy. Second, your waiting provides evidence that you value them enough to accept their limitations and put your life on hold for them. This validation feeds their ego and soothes their insecurity about their lovability. The fact that you care enough to wait despite their rejection confirms that they're important and desirable, providing psychological benefits without requiring them to reciprocate your care through consistent presence or commitment. They get to feel valued without having to do the vulnerable work of valuing someone else openly. Third, the narrative that they're working on themselves allows the avoidant person to maintain an identity as someone who is growth-oriented and self-aware. They can tell themselves they're being responsible by not entering a relationship before they're ready, that they're doing the mature thing by addressing their issues before involving someone else. This narrative obscures the reality that they're not actually doing significant work and that their rejection of relationship is avoidance rather than wisdom. Your waiting validates this narrative by suggesting you believe they're doing important work worth waiting for. What makes this hope particularly manipulative is that there's no timeline, no clear endpoint to the waiting period. The avoidant person never says, "Wait 6 months while I do therapy," or "I need a year to work on myself and then we can try again." The time frame is deliberately vague because specificity would create accountability. If they set a timeline and didn't actually do the work or become ready by the specified date, they would be exposed as having manipulated you with false promises. Vagueness allows them to keep you waiting indefinitely, while never being held accountable for failing to progress. The avoidant person also hopes you'll wait without expressing needs or expectations that would pressure them. They want you to be patient, understanding, supportive of their journey, but not to ask when they'll be ready or what specific work they're doing. They want you to wait quietly in the background of their life while they figure things out at their own pace. But they don't want to feel guilty about your waiting or responsible for the time you're sacrificing. This is an impossible and unfair request that reveals the fundamental self-centeredness of their hope. The reality is that the avoidant person who claims they need to figure themselves out before being in a relationship is rarely doing work that will actually change their capacity for intimacy. Genuine transformation of attachment patterns requires sustained therapeutic work, willingness to examine painful experiences and defensive patterns, practice with vulnerability in safe contexts, and time measured in years rather than months. Most avoidant people never undertake this work because it requires the very vulnerability they're organized around avoiding. They remain stuck in patterns that feel safe and familiar, occasionally having insights about their limitations, but never translating those insights into behavioral change. If the avoidant person does eventually reach out after a period of supposed self-work, what you'll typically find is that they haven't fundamentally changed. They might have some new language for their patterns, might be able to articulate their issues more clearly, might have read some books or done some therapy, but their capacity for sustained vulnerability, for consistent presence, for the discomfort that genuine intimacy requires remains fundamentally unchanged. They're the same person with slightly more self-awareness, but without the actual transformation that would make relationship with them any different than it was before. Your waiting is not helping the avoidant person grow. If anything, it's hindering their growth by removing consequences that might motivate genuine change. When you wait, when you remain available despite their rejection, you're communicating that their patterns are acceptable enough that they don't need to change them. You're showing them that they can reject you and you'll still be there, that they can avoid commitment and you'll still wait, that they can prioritize their comfort over the relationship and you'll still accept them. These are precisely the wrong messages if you want them to actually examine their patterns and do the difficult work of changing them. They hope you'll prove your worth by accepting their rejection gracefully. The final hope the avoidant person holds after rejecting you is that you'll respond to the rejection in ways that prove you're mature, emotionally stable, and worthy of potential future consideration. They hope you'll accept the rejection with grace and dignity, that you won't express anger or hurt too intensely, that you won't make the ending messy or uncomfortable for them. They want you to demonstrate that you understand and accept their decision, that you respect their boundaries, that you're capable of handling difficult emotions without becoming unstable or vindictive. This hope serves several functions, all of which center on the avoidant person's needs rather than yours. First, graceful acceptance of rejection protects the avoidant person from feeling guilty or responsible for the pain they've caused. If you respond to rejection with dignity, not expressing the full depth of your hurt or anger, the avoidant person can tell themselves that you're fine, that they didn't really hurt you that badly, that the ending was mutual and mature, rather than their unilateral decision that devastated you. This narrative protects them from confronting the impact of their patterns on others and from sitting with the guilt that might motivate self-examination. The avoidant person's hope for graceful acceptance also reflects their deep discomfort with others' intense emotions throughout the relationship. Your emotional expressions likely felt overwhelming to them, triggering their defenses and driving their withdrawal. After rejection, they hope you won't subject them to the emotional intensity of your grief, anger, or confusion. They want the ending to be clean and calm, preferably with you taking responsibility for your own emotional processing without involving them in it. This desire for emotional tidiness reveals their continued prioritization of their comfort over your needs. Second, your graceful acceptance of rejection allows the avoidant person to maintain respect for you and to keep you as a possibility for future reconnection. The avoidant person categorizes people into those who handled rejection well and those who didn't. And this categorization determines who they might consider reconnecting with later. If you respond to rejection with intense emotion, with pursuit, with attempts to change their mind, with anger or accusations, you get categorized as someone who couldn't handle things maturely. This categorization in the avoidant person's mind justifies their rejection and makes reconnection unlikely even if they eventually want it.